I felt comfortable coming into insurance because I knew how to lead people. Leading people is the hardest part of the job, period. Even running an agency, running a branch, it's the same skill set, but it's one of the hardest parts of the job, right? You've got to get help. You do not have all the answers, and you've got to put things together where it makes sense to you and it frees up your time because you only have X amount of time in a day to get it taken care of. And if your processes aren't tight, things can start spiraling. And that's some things that I've learned. The biggest thing I knew because I did it for so long is
welcome to another episode of the A1 Experience. I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Michael Moore, who's an Allstate agency owner here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Used to be my boss in banking. We both come from an extensive banking background. Also aside him is Mr. Marcus Miles, who's one of his top producers at the Michael Moore family agency. And so, Marcus, welcome.
Thanks, Nick, man. I appreciate you having me here. I watch your show. I'm excited to see you.
Yeah.
It's first time in his office, so man, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know Michael Moore, Mike's an Allstate agency owner that started 2 years after me.
Mhm.
And the reason why he got started was he saw me, dressed down, making deposits at his branch where, and just a few years prior, he was my boss in banking. He managed me for like a little less than 2 years, I think.
I think about a year and a half.
Yep.
Yep.
And I take this leap. I start making deposits at his branch. He sees me dressed down. He's still suited and booted.
Mm-hmm.
He hates being suited and booted.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'm like, Mike, you would be so good at this, bro.
Right.
Like, you would crush this. And he takes the leap in 2018, which is 2 years after me. And he's grown even faster than me, which is impressive. And he's a $15 million agency, manages about 18 staff. Writes a little over 200 items a month, and this is a tough Nevada year. And then Marcus Miles, one of his top producers in the district, so that's like 3 or 4 states.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, welcome, gentlemen.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you having us.
So, Michael, start with you. Tell everybody a little bit about your story.
Sure. So, for me, I started in banking. Actually started when I was 20 years old. Started at a call center here in Vegas for Bank of America. Did that for 5 years, 6 years. I actually achieved to be a quality analyst. So I used to listen to calls and critique it and provide feedback. And then after that, jumped into the branch world. So I was a personal banker for a while. Did that for about a year, and then they gave me a branch. I actually managed a branch in Woodburn, Oregon. So that was my first opportunity managing people. And I'll tell you, it was real scary.
Okay.
Did that for a little bit. Then one of someone that we know together jumped over to U.S. Bank, and I reached out to her and I said, I like the way you leaded us at B of A, so I wanted to jump over. So I did that. So I was at B of A for 7 years. So yeah.
And then U.S. Bank for how many years?
U.S. Bank for 7 years and B of A for 13.
Okay, so I nailed it. Yeah, it was about over 20 years.
20 years, bro.
I thought it was like 15.
No,
So,
bro. 20 years in banking, almost a life sentence.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I got some follow-up questions with that. But before I do, Marcus, a little about your story.
I moved here from California about 4 years ago. I was in the VIP hosting space. So I used to work for Tao Group as a VIP host, which was an awesome experience. I moved here Valentine's Day 2020. So I get here, great situation, and literally, probably the best experience in Vegas, like that Vegas has to offer as far as like being in the clubs and meeting a bunch of people, getting high level clientele, and then boom, COVID happens, changes everything. Complete different situation. And then fast forward a little bit, my father passes away.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm figuring out, what do I do next? I need to do something that's, more substantial. I need to be able to provide for my family in a space where if something ever happened like that, I could hold it down. Right. And then boom, I got into the insurance space. I met Nick. Nick hired me, and we had a great rapport, great situation, and I really appreciate you for that time frame because, like, literally, when I first got in, he's like, "Oh man, I know you got to make money quick, so go to this interview, go to that interview, talk to this person, right?" And unfortunately, I couldn't pass my test. It took me like 4 times to pass the test.
I remember.
It's kind of crazy.
Funny thing is you're one of my biggest regrets. So let me explain. At the time, we made a bunch of hires, and you took too long to pass your test, and we had filled like we were already overflowing. And so I was like, you know what, Mike? Uh, I got somebody. I didn't think he was gonna pass his test. He just told me like you actually went ghost on me for like 2 months, and then
Yeah.
he's like, Nick, I passed. I'm like, I have no room. Like I literally didn't have room. So I passed you over to Mike. No BS. Like not even 2 3 weeks later, two of the girls that I had hired like drop out, and I'm just like, oh no. I was just like, no, I chose the wrong one. I chose the wrong one, and then yeah, you're doing some awesome things with Mike's office. You know, Mike, I what I love about you, bro, is since you entered the space, you've been very like just a sponge of information. You have you ask a lot of questions, and you're an executor. And I've even so many times early on when like management was new to me because I didn't have any management experience.
For sure.
I didn't manage people in banking. I was like the assistant manager. So it's like although I was there and assisting with things, I wasn't like the decision maker or the person that was hiring or firing people. Like I would help with hiring, but I wasn't the actual person. I wasn't directly managing people. I just had to like just watch other people around me, but I didn't actually do it myself. So when I jumped into agency ownership, a lot of these different experiences were like new to me. I'm like, this happened, Mike. How would you handle it? There's so many phone calls where I'd call Mike and I'd say, Mike, you were like you were my reason for advice or the person that would give me advice when it comes to anything kind of communicating with staff and stuff like that. Insurance agents. What is every agency's highest closing lead source without fail? Personal referrals. What if I told you I could help you turbocharge the frequency in which you got personal referrals? In the last 5 years, I've written over 5,000 items and 3.5 million in premium from inbound organic sources, and it cost me nothing. How? Because posting on social media is free. If you want to turn your agency into a referral machine, then go to nicksaka.com/creators and sign up for the Insurance Creators Mastermind, where me and my team will meet with you and your team twice a month to help you with something that no other agency is doing. Imagine having the guidance, the ideas, the trends, and the strategies that actually work in converting more business for your agency. Go to nicksaka.com/creators for more. Now, back to the show.
So the one thing that, with staff, and the biggest thing I knew because I did it for so long, is leading people is the hardest part of the job, period. Even running an agency, running a branch, it's the same skill set, but it's one of the hardest parts of the job, right? Making sure that, you keep them engaged, you hold them accountable to results, all of that. So, with you had, when I got here, you had all the information on insurance. You had that locked down, but I felt comfortable coming into insurance because I knew how to lead people. And that was my biggest that was my biggest just strength, because I didn't have to worry about that. Now it's just what is insurance? What is liability? All that other things that insurance covers. I had no clue for like probably 6 months. And I was just, as someone always told me, fake it till you make it. I was just in front of customers talking to them like, yep, absolutely, this is what you have, but wasn't 100% confident. It took me time to build that, right? But my biggest comfortable place was just building a team and putting them in place to be successful. And just like Marcus here, when you sent him over to me, I was like, I know exactly what to do with him. I know exactly what to do, how to talk to him, how to get him motivated. And then he also comes very self-motivated. So that was very easy. So the people part of the business is something I lay my hat on. I can get that knocked out. The insurance part when I started was a challenging part for me.
Yeah,
for sure.
But you were good at like just figuring something out quickly. I remember, I'll never forget when you had to present on on business, commercial banking products.
Yeah. I remember that.
And he just like read a piece of paper and then presented on it and did it so efficiently. I was just like, Mike, I look up to you, bro. Like, how did you do that? Because I could study something for a month and not present as good.
Yeah,
as
they gave me back then. They gave me a product on something I had no clue about. So back then I was one of the leaders in the district. but they had to, assign everybody topics, right? And they assigned me business lending. And I said, "Oh, okay, I got this, not a problem." I didn't have no clue about it, and they gave me at least 30 days. So the good thing about it is, I called my man Steven. He was a small business rep in the area, right? And I was like, "Steven, tell me all it is to know about business." And for me, the way I just figured that out is I just recorded him. I recorded him and I studied what he said. Still didn't have an understanding of all of it, but when you don't know what you don't know, you find the smartest person in the room and you try to capture that knowledge. So that's what I did. I captured it from the person that knew the most. I mean, he went into the weeds and the details of it, which when I then presented it to everybody else, it made me smarter, right? Because I wasn't exposed to the business being in a branch, right? I'm more exposed to consumers and everything else. But he just made me smarter for the 30 to 40 minutes. And I just kept playing that back and back to back until I can get better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I focused on. And that's primarily what I did with insurance is I found and something that I didn't do enough of in banking that I am doing a lot of in insurance is I am trying to find the smartest people in the room. The good thing about the insurance community, it's small. Like who is the best in whatever state. And I just try to bend their ear a little bit and try to get as much information as possible. In the beginning, that was Will, that was you, right?
Yeah.
Now I have people that I talk to daily, like Saul, and he just gives me just process ways to get things taken care of, and it's really made my agency just grow. So that's been a good focus. So just talking to the people that have the best information, and it's amazing. And I know some of that you've leveraged as well.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. When we had a little mastermind here in Vegas
Yeah.
of our good friends that paved the way before us.
Yeah.
But then, I remember telling you at one point, I was like, one, I think they're checking out.
Mm.
I think they're checking out.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
they've
For
lost
sure.
a little
For
fire
sure.
to stay in this
Right.
business, and I could see their hearts are going elsewhere.
Yep.
And I was like, Mike, we need to make new friends. Like not like in a
Right.
bad way, but
No.
we've got to connect with agency owners from all over the country to be able to learn from them.
You have to surround yourself with people that are doing it and doing it at a high level, right? So sometimes you can meet them and you build that connection and you continue to grow. Sometimes you got to pay for it, right? And
Right.
and I go to a lot of different conferences. I'm not the best conference goer, I'm not the most social. You already know that, right? But once you find someone that's doing it well, the commonality is business and growing the business and making sure that you're successful, right?
Yeah.
And if people are willing to give up that knowledge, take it all down,
Mhm.
write it down, make sure that you take a couple of key nuggets and then go back to your agency and take that information and execute.
Yep.
So that is the biggest opportunity for me is get something that I don't know or that I'm struggling with, and then taking it back and doing something with the information. A lot of times people sit still with that information and they don't move forward with it, or they just sit and they analyze too long. And then by that time, you've lost either detail or you've lost motivation and you don't move on that information. And I think one of my superpowers is I gather the information and I can move
Mhm.
and execute to it. And it can be frustrating for maybe some of the people at the agency because I am making a very swift change.
Right.
But the blessing with my staff is they've gotten used to it and they are like, hey, I see why we're doing it, the why behind it, and we're pushing forward. And most of the time, the changes have brought good and beneficial results.
Yep.
So that's something I pride myself on, something I'll continue to focus on, because the problems that I had at $5 million is not the same problems I got at 15 million.
Yeah.
And I know when I get to 20 and 25 million, it's going to be different problems.
That's where you might need to hire somebody to hire like a business coach. The Olson agency, they've done that. They were telling me that they've hired pretty much a consultant, and you got to pay like a good
Yeah.
chunk of change
Yeah,
for it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they just analyze your business and then tell you which people to put in which seats, and I'm like, if they were doing that at a $25 million agency and now they're at like 66 or whatever,
Yeah.
then I probably got to do the same.
I think we both do. Like,
Yeah.
as and me and Marcus have talked about this, right? He's introduced me to people that can assist me in growing the business. Um, you've got to get help. You do not have all the answers, and
For
you've
sure.
got to put things together where, it makes sense to you, and it frees up your time. Because you only have X amount of time in a day to get it taken care of. And if your processes aren't tight, um, things can start spiraling. And that's some things that I've learned, especially this last 12 months, because, I've put the book together at 15 over the last 12 months, and I'm learning so much about, oh, this is going to be different. I'm going to need assistance in this area where I'm not strong at. And I'm okay admitting that I'm not strong in this area, that I will reach out and find someone that's either
Mhm.
done it or put it together. So that's something that's very important to me, and it will assist me in growing, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Marcus, on the agent side, you've pretty much hit the ground running, and there's a lot of agents I think that would like to do that, especially some of my audience.
Mhm.
A lot of people just getting started. Maybe they just got their license. You didn't have your license, as we said.
Mhm.
You had to get your license, and then as soon as you started off pretty hot, and you've kind of maintained that. So, any advice for, I guess what has made you successful, and speak to the other, agents out there that are trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is understanding why you're doing it. Like, why are you here? Why do you want to make money? Why do you want to take care of whatever you want to take care of? Right? Identifying that, and then also figuring out exactly how much you want to make. So even when I was at your office and I'm studying for it, I'm over here like looking at past numbers and stuff like that. Like, okay, cool. I think when I left our initial interview, right? And this is I was actually taking the bus to get to you at
Mhm.
that time, right? So I'm like, I live in Henderson, so I'm taking like an hour and a half, 2 hour bus to get over here, right? And on the way home, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sell 60,000 a month. I'm gonna do this. This is what this number is. Boom, boom, boom.
Call this shot.
Yeah, right. And then I was like, okay. And then the whole situation happened where I wasn't able to work at your office. Then I got to Mike's office. And then when I got to Mike's office, I was like, okay, dude, like I already had this whole scenario. Like, let me just hit the ground running. Mike gave me a great space to jump, right? And like gave me free reign to just, if you're gonna do it, right? And that's been like the best thing. So for the first month, I was in the office like 12 hours a day, like
Mm.
in there till 8 o'clock, looking at, okay, what was the numbers he did every LSP for the last 2 years? What did they make? What was the scenario? What's the the commonality between everybody? And how do I separate myself?
These were
So
questions that you were asking.
myself,
Oh, okay.
right? And looking at data. And I think data matters, right? I think looking at what you can create from what was, I think puts in perspective what you can actually make happen, right? So that's what I did, and I was extremely motivated. Again, I was taking the bus like for at least the first 6 months working
Sure
there,
were.
right? I turned that bus into a Mach E, right? Thank God.
He did.
Yeah, like-
I was like, electric
Yeah.
already?
Yeah,
I'm like,
like-
I gotta go big or go home, Mike. I
Yeah,
was like, all right, you
you
gotta
know?
do it.
So it was just one of those things where it was just really motivating for me. I had a very strong why. And then also just wanting to understand something and figure it out. I think like putting yourself in a position where, sink or swim. What are you going to do? Right. So for me, I had a lot of things I had to continue to create for myself. I already, like you said, a Mach-E already. I'm like, dude, I had that. I had a nice apartment already. I had everything already set up. And I'm like, okay, bro, I got to pay these bills. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Right. So I was highly motivated in that space. And I just think people have to identify their motivation and then also learn their process. Like, get a process down.
Process is so huge.
I think my first month, oh my gosh, first week selling, I think it was May 2022. First week selling, I sold 7,000 my first week. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Okay, great. Crickets until the last week of the month. And I'm in the office like stressing, like, dude, maybe this isn't for me. No, it is for me. Let's go. Like,
Yeah.
just continue to push myself. And then it just clicked. And everything worked out. And the last week, I sold really well. Then that next month, boom, 50,000, 60,000 next month, and continue to grow. So, yeah, I just think identifying your motivation and creating a great, strong process.
I want to add to that really quick because I think another thing that benefited Marcus is his outlook on life is so positive, right? Because sales is a hard job. Like it is not something you're going to wake up and just be great at. You have to work at it. And me and Marcus would sit there and talk every morning, and he would be like, okay. And he would ask questions and really work hard at his craft and how to say things, because we would listen to calls every day, how to say things, how to position it. And because he put in the work and he was positive about it, it really built his skill set up, and it just kept compounding. Where the ones that I see that don't make it, their mentality about it is, I feel defeated. So Marcus had a moment where he had a dry spell in the beginning, and I just kept saying, it's going to happen, man. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. Just, you put in 100, 200 calls in, and, you're one step closer. And he would be the one with the largest numbers, the most effort every single day. And then when it happened, and then it became easier. So I would watch him. Instead of putting those late nights in, hey, he could get this done in 6 hours. And absolutely. And then he would ask me, can I get out of here? Absolutely. You've done what you needed to do. But he couldn't have done that without putting in the work in early, and then continue to build on that skill set. So
And not a lot of people are willing to do that front-loaded work.
No.
Where you said the 12-hour days,
No.
where you're figuring it out. A lot of people, it's like they're here for 8 hours, with their 1 hour lunch or whatnot, and
Yeah.
then they expect that I haven't gotten better yet. But you also said a big key, which is you had a strong why, and when you know your why, the how and the what is irrelevant. I think like it's going to happen. Like no matter what, it might not happen on our timeline, but it will happen. But that spoke to me. Those 12-hour days as an agency owner, I was always the last one out of the office, like always, and because I was like slow, like I'm not as fast as everybody else when it comes to like processing things. And so all the administrative stuff, let me save that for the end of the day. I can do that after the clock, after business hours. But during business hours, I'm going to grind these phones, and because that's prime time to like actually like close deals and talk to people. And so you got to, that's why you were successful. And then of course the positive attitude, right?
Oh, his attitude is fantastic. And it's infectious in the office too.
Yep.
So, but on the vice versa, if there's someone in the office that is the opposite way, that can have a detriment on your culture as well.
Yep. Yeah. No, absolutely. You have we get rid of people that are negative.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
It's literally blasted on the walls. One of those non-negotiables is positive energy only,
For sure.
because like you said, sales is already hard as it is.
It's hard, yeah. And it's funny, I've met people in interviews, and they come with a very cocky attitude that I can sell X or Y. And I'm like, it's usually someone that's done it in person, right? And I'm like, I get you. You got a great personality, but it's different on the phone.
Yep.
So, I want you to come with an open mind. You may not be successful right off. Some people can overcome that and adjust. Some people, because they're so used to easily getting wins, when they get a couple of L's, they lose interest. And I've seen them deteriorate. So it's just everybody's different in how you motivate them and how you talk to them. So it's something that we continue to work on and we continue to develop. So
Yeah. And it's been hard to find those type of people.
Yeah.
It's definitely been hard. So you've already shared about your background. How did banking and management help you with where you're at today?
So that's actually a really good question. So a little bit about myself. I went to high school out here, went to Cheyenne High School, graduated with a 1.98 GPA. I was not going to college. I just did not do school very well. So when I was younger, I saw a young black branch manager in banking, and I said, oh, wow, he looks dope. I want to do what he's doing. So I applied to banks when I turned 20 years old. After that, I knew I needed to learn something. So young folks, they always jump from job to job to job, and they never build a skill, right? So for me, because I didn't go to college, I said, I need to build a skill, something to lay my hat on that can assist me later on in life. So that's what I worked on. How it helped me is because I've had so many years in banking and the structure of banking, it's just take that different cog or whatever you're selling and put in a different one.
Mhm.
I literally took what I learned in banking and just implemented that in insurance. It's a financial product just on a different side of it, right? So instead of selling CDs and checking accounts, we're selling auto insurance and home policies, right? So teaching people to sell and talk to people is also part of it, right? You got to build a structure to the conversation. It can't just be give it to me now. It's you got to build a connection with them. You got to tell them why we're different from the competitor, right? We've got to paint the picture. We got to show them the value of who we are before they'll ever say yes over the phone. All of that was learned in banking. So I do things a certain way because that's how I was taught younger, right? My whole goal is to, in banking, I couldn't do this. I couldn't build to the level that I wanted to. I was never the best branch. I was always like 2 or 3, right? So the number 1 is always the one gets the promotion. 2 or 3 is just a pat on the back. So I
Why
decided
aren't you like number one?
I tried. And here's
No,
what
but that's what,
yeah,
that's-
absolutely. My thing, but here I can develop in myself and continue to make me better. When I was a branch manager, I couldn't do that, right? Or I didn't think about doing that. Here I'm thinking about doing that. So I'm taking that skill of building branches and I'm trying to build an agency the way I always wanted to build a branch or a bank,
Yeah.
right? And it's like when I left banking, I said, I'm going to be my own district manager of my own agencies. So I kept buying one and buying one and buying one. And then I'm going to put people in place in those agencies that when they need assistance, I can show them how to gain that skill that I learned when I was young, when I was younger through banking, right? So it's just passing it down, transferring that skill over and really building those individuals up.
And it's nice without all the BS politics, something I was horrible at.
Yeah.
That's why I never advanced in banking.
Politics in banking it was a struggle. And it took me a while to realize I don't have the personality for it. I don't sit there.
I thought you did pretty good.
I fake it till I make it, right? But I don't play well with just just the meet and greets, and I just want to get my job done and move on. And that's just something I always focused on. And yeah, banking was great. It taught me a lot. But this is fun. This is like the best time of my life. Fun building something that I have an opportunity to teach other people with.
Yeah.
And it's been fantastic.
What I love about it, it's like when I walk into my office and if I see like somebody spilt like coffee and it dried up and it hits the floor, I have this like wild OCD of making sure my office is just clean and spotless. And if I see something like at my house, I'm not even like that. But at the office, I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, why didn't anybody pick this up?
Absolutely.
Because
It's almost disrespecting the situation.
right. Like
what?
you have to walk upstairs to get up here. You know how many times I'm sweeping those stairs and I'm just like making sure the stairway looks presentable.
Dude, I ain't gonna lie. I looked for an elevator out there. I was like, come on, there's gotta be an elevator.
Customers hate it. Yeah,
it's a step, but it's fun.
But it's that's the different kind of pride that you take in it, and I also try to make sure the team has that same pride.
Yeah.
Because if you treat something like your own, like eventually you'll have your own. And a lot of people, like even in I worked at Subway making sandwiches, I'd make sure that the front line looked presentable. Like treat it like your own. Even like you're working with Michael Moore's agency. If you treat his agency like your own, like literally you're going to have your own business someday if that's in your as a part of one of your goals. It's just that different pride. And even the branches, I would keep the branches clean and make sure that it looked presentable and being nice to customers. But banking was huge in my journey as well.
It laid a foundation. Even like the part with it's funny. I see people that are insurance agents are great salespeople, but the service side of them is just
the operations
lacking.
The compliance,
right? Where in banking you had to learn all of it, right? Especially the service side. You had to make sure you were on point. Because when you're dealing, it's funny. Someone told me when you're dealing with someone's money, there's 2 things people get just livid about: their money and their kids, right? And you got to make sure you're dealing with both of them with very like kid gloves and making sure you're taking care of it. So I took that skill and put it into my branch, or excuse me, my agency, because they need to make sure that we're taking care of these customers. That we're protecting their assets.
And insurance agencies are almost becoming the modern day branches because
100%.
there's branches that are just pulling out. There's not a branch that's accessible anymore like it
100%.
used to be. Like we're the ones that are talking financial services now.
100%.
We're the ones talking life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening with the branches anymore. And so it's almost like funny how we've kind of are.
It's full circle.
We're becoming, we're becoming that. But the compliance side, there's nothing that was more gave me more anxiety than when you were getting audited. When you go and when you're the first one at the branch, right? And you're waiting by the magazine aisle, just waiting for your other, waiting for the other banker to
You have
pull
to
up.
clear the building.
And you see the auditor, you're like, oh, bro, we're about to
Mass
get audited
message.
today. Like, we're
send it
getting
out.
audited today. Like, fucking, this shit is real.
For sure.
Right.
And everything you're doing is under a microscope, that like has helped me in this.
Yeah,
where
I was
it's
going to
like-
say that experience, even though that only happened twice a year, roughly, right? That's what had happened. It made you better.
Yeah.
It made, look, I go through and I listen to these calls and I'm like, nope, that's not right. This is not right. Let's talk about the why behind it and make sure you at least understand. So those audits that we used to have back in the day, that's because they probably took a heck of a loss one day because someone messed up,
Yeah.
right? So I take that same mentality with the agencies. It's like, look, we've got to be on our P's and Q's because you never know if you make a mistake or you get sloppy, we could lose something. And we all come here every day to work really hard. I would hate for something to happen where we're exposed, and I don't want that exposure to happen to my team.
Yeah.
So yeah, audits are good sometimes.
Yeah.
So love it.
Yeah, the whole thing was an awesome, from the operations to the customer service and the sales, like
Yeah.
those three things.
It was a three-legged stool, and
Yeah.
it kept you propped up and on point. So it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
It was awesome. So in Nevada, we've got literally the worst close ratio in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 6%.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, Marcus, how many quotes are you households are you quoting averaging a day?
Averaging about 10 to 15. That's like a general number. I'm trying to get to 20. That's like my overall goal, 20 quotes a day. I think one thing I love about the fact that their close ratio is lower, the close ratio is lower because there's all these rules, right? Since we've been in this situation, we've had so many, since I've been at the office, it's been like every 3 months there's a different change, right? But that's made me such a better salesperson in general, having to jump through hoops and things like that. At first, like Mike was saying before, like all these processes and changes he implements, right? We're always like, at first. Now it's just like, all right, what are we doing next?
Marcus would pull me aside. Mike, why is this happening? I can explain it to you. So I would go through the understanding of the why. But
Sometimes the why just sucks.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can
we don't
say,
even agree
right?
with it. We're just like, there's literally nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, I'm like this.
So it is what it is.
They just told me last week. I'm just trying to make sure that we can we're going to still make it. And for me, every single time there was a change, we excelled. Every single time we met it head on, and we had to pivot, but we still were able to figure it out and move forward. So, with anything in life, there's going to be obstacles, and we got to overcome them. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's been like the best part about it. I think it's like life building, right? Because if there's so many, like you said, obstacles, right? There's so many things that are going to happen regardless of what it is. And I think as a producer in this current space now, it's like, okay, we just got to keep jumping those hurdles no matter what it is. So thankfully, we have a book where we can open things in different states, right? So that's helped out quite a bit for sure. But Nevada still, we're still doing well in Nevada.
Doing great.
And it's still a circumstance where, if they got to put a full payment down or like a half down, then, you got to get better at getting people to do it. That's just what it is. There's no, yeah, exactly. Like there's no other scenario where it's like, okay, like, woe is me, this is that. It's like, all right, that's what we got to do. Get better. Right. That's it.
Yeah, the same, like someone's going to dominate.
Mhm.
Someone's going to keep dominating. It might as well be us.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I want to be the winner.
Yep.
Yeah, and the pendulum will swing. Like we're having a tougher year in Nevada.
Sure.
Oregon's saving us, but the pendulum will swing, and when it does, we're going to be in a good situation. It's just this is actually the most adversity I have been faced with in my 7 years.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard for me to swallow. That's
Yeah.
like bruh, am I having?
Yeah, we've had conversations. I'm
Am
like,
I
look,
having
man,
my
it's
worst
gonna
year?
be okay.
I'm like, I didn't know bad years happened. You know, it's like
You've only
what do you-
seen this little piece,
You know?
and it's always been rosy. But as I told the staff, I said, this year is going to be tough. It is what it is. I said, but this is all teeing us up for 2025.
Yeah.
So the renewal, the 30% renewal pieces of it's going to go away. We're running through the cycle about a month and a half out. But then it's plowing forward and using what we've learned to be successful as we grow. So I think we're going to be fine. And I think we're setting the steps to be successful. But we just got to continue to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way I look
That's
at
like the
it.
annoying thing that you always end our conversations with. Like we just got to keep moving forward, man. It's just like so
Do
not.
you have anything else to say?
I'm like, Mike,
Watch this. But that's my personality. Like everybody comes to me and
100%.
says something. I'm like this. I get it. It's tough. We can figure it out.
every text message that he
I
ends
know.
with,
I hit you with
I'm
it.
like, just got to keep moving forward, man. I'm like, bruh, give me something else, you know?
No, but you know what? I like it because Mike is literally one of the most even keel people
Yes.
I've ever met in
It's
life.
like annoyingly even kill.
No, it's awesome because for me, I'm like sporadic sometimes, right? And I'm like, okay,
Me too.
all right, Mike, you're right. We just got to keep moving forward. Yeah, 100%.
It works for me. I'm saying it just works for me.
No, it's really awesome. That's a testament to a positive mindset as well, right? But I think in all the adversity that we've been facing, it feels like we're just doing jujitsu with weights on, right? Or running, with weights on. So as soon as these weights come off, we're gonna be like 10 times more powerful.
Yeah.
Like literally the number of policies that will be sold when these restrictions are lifted, it's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
Even people that don't even notice it, they're gonna be like, wow, I'm closing at a way higher clip.
Yeah. I like it because we're meeting more people too. I mean, we may not close everybody, right? But we're still building relationships. We're meeting more MLOs. We're meeting more just people building relationships with them. We're telling them what we can do. So those relationships will stick. And then when the opportunity opens up, it's a wrap.
It's money.
Yeah.
So, Mike, how often are you, or what's the key to successfully coaching people? You got over 20 years, 25 years or 20 years? Including
this,
this.
26?
26 years of
I'm still
how
young.
much
I'm
was
still young to let y'all know. I'm still young.
managing people.
Yeah.
What's the key to successfully coaching people and managing people?
That's a great question. It's getting to know them. He mentioned one thing earlier. It's the why. His why is different than other people's why. So when you're sitting in front of them, like I fully expect Marcus to be like an agency owner one day. That's another North Star for him. He's working towards that direction. My thing is just making sure he's taking all the appropriate steps to get there, right? Mm-hmm. Another employee, their why is going to be completely different. They just want to either come to work and just be the best person at this position. Not a problem. As long as they're doing what they need to do, I understand their why, I can motivate them and move forward, right? But you've got to understand your employees' why. You got to get to know them a little bit. Not all the personal details. You don't need to get to know all that, but get to know why they come into work every day. Because at the end of the day, they're there to take care of their family, and they're there to be successful. No one comes into work to suck, right? So knowing that, what are they doing wrong? What's the root cause of why they're failing? If it's a certain way they're speaking, if it's something they're not bringing up, if it's a lack of inconsistency, right? That's always a big deal. You got to figure it out. You got to be able to address it. You got to be able to be timely with the information. You can't talk to somebody about something they did yesterday a week later. It just doesn't work. So that's the important part.
Got to address it, nip it in the bud.
Yeah,
by the way.
There's a book that Mr. Craig Wiggins gave us when we were going to Alabama. It was called Radical Candor. That book is fantastic, and it actually opened up my eyes to being able to address things, because a lot of times, and it's funny, my son says this to me now. He says, "Dad, you're mean," and I'm like, "Son, I'm just trying to be honest with you, or just direct you in the right way." But because I am so very blunt with him, at this age, he's 11. He thinks I'm mean, and I'm okay with that. I'll be that dad. But employees can also perceive you that way as well. So you've got to be very tactical with how you present the information, so they can perceive it as something that they can do with, information that they can execute to. If you are very negative all the time, they may not be mindfully listening to you to be able to change behavior. So it's
Exactly.
it's a balancing act.
There's that quote, people don't care how much you know until they know how
How
much
much
you
you care,
care.
100%.
So you can't give them advice on how to improve if you actually don't have any sort of care about what they've
No,
got going
no,
on.
nothing going on with their personal life because people are at work all the time. So, they carry some of their personal stuff with them. You just got to get to know who they are. And everybody's a little different. You just got to get to know them.
And how often are you coaching your people? Are you still coaching all your salespeople, or are you
It's
just coaching
funny.
your managers?
It's funny. I've been spending the last year just coaching my manager and working with him. But one of my service managers went on maternity leave. So I said, I'll pick up that slack and start coaching the service side, right? I've gotten to the point I kind of miss it. I like really talking, just sitting down with them, right? So I think that layer of management with them out because of maternity leave got me the opportunity to really start speaking to my service team more frequently, getting to know. So I think I'm going to start picking it up. But for the last year, I've been coaching just my management team in the office to try to get them leveled up so they can understand, so they can coach better, so I can amplify my efforts. But I think I'm going to pick up a piece or two
Gotcha.
after that.
So how often are you coaching?
I was coaching my managers every single week. We were having conversations and going through it.
Is there a difference
Now
between spot coaching and formal coaching?
there is a difference. So formal coaching, I would do probably once every 2 months. Spot coaching, I would do once a week, and we would
Okay.
just look at things, right? But to going over the reviews, we would just sit down and talk about it and have it scheduled on the calendar. I know I'm a big scheduling person. I need it to be on the calendar for me to do it, or I won't do it. So making sure that you get time with them is important. But on my service team, I've been doing them every 2 weeks on the calendar.
Where does the majority of your business come from? You mentioned MLOs. You buy a lot of internet leads, I'm sure, like me.
Mm,
We're just throwing money at stuff.
Yeah, here's the cool thing. Is this year, at no point in the past did I track where my money went. I just threw everything at, leads, right? Not knowing which vendor performed. So this year, I have started tracking down to the zip code, down to the vendor, just which vendors are performing. So 90% of all my sales are coming from internet leads. And so we spend about 25,000 on just internet leads.
Okay.
Also this year, we've implemented a very rigorous telemarketing program. So we have about 6 telemarketers, and they're just working the leads with us to make sure that we're successful. And what we've seen, because again, it's been a very tough year, is our numbers are starting to go up. 50% of all our closed deals are now coming from the telemarketers as of last month. So it's been a huge deal.
Wow.
And it's something that I say, as the book is, maturing and it's bigger, we have to put more processes in place, track your money spend, and then increase your budget just to get to the result you're looking for. So we're going to get there by the end of the year. We're focused on it, and we just got to continue to add good teammates to be able to execute.
Yeah. I know this guy that's coming out with this program that can help you get your personal referral game up.
What program is that, sir?
The Insurance Creators. Cut to the commercial.
You can see Randall's face.
Yeah, but no, that's awesome. 90%, that's a ton, and
That is a
50% from the telemarketers. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Marcus, you're a social guy.
Yeah.
Now I feel like you couldn't ever be in an elevator with somebody without being like, "What's up, man? How are you?" Like my
Literally,
brother is
yeah.
built like that too.
Yeah.
How much business is your business? Where is your business coming from? Is it all internet leads, or you got some personal referrals going on too?
Yeah, so for the first 2 years, I really was focused on mainly process, and I wasn't putting myself out there as much. And that was something I was really noticing that I wanted to kind of get more involved in. This year has been more of an explosion for like COIs and things like that. So I've actually, so I'm a part of this group called BNI. And have you ever heard of BNI?
Yeah.
Awesome. So
it's like a fraternity for referrals.
boom.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm a part of BNI. We meet every single week on Tuesdays, and we do one-to-ones with everybody. So just to kind of tell everybody on screen, it's a fraternity for referrals, but it's mixed between insurance agents, MLOs, doctors, lawyers, handyman, anybody that can cross-reference business, right? So it's a great mastermind that
You're getting a good amount from it?
well, I've been in it for about 3 months, right?
Okay.
And I'm starting to like build more traction. But the crazy thing is, energy is everything, right? So as soon as I started doing that, I started getting other business from other MLOs that weren't in BNI for some reason, like literally just reaching out. So a lot of my business is starting to come from mortgage loan officers. And now I'm in a space where, okay, I want to start building that out a little bit more. Because from in the beginning, I really was like, okay, is this working? It's
Right.
working. Great. I don't want to do anything that's like outside of what this is, right? So now I'm very comfortable in that space. I know, like, I'm literally in and out of the office a lot, right? And I'm still able to produce. So that's been a really great blessing completely. So now I know that I can do that. I have a lot of plans to get more, but mainly to your question, mainly mortgage loan officers and also BNI.
What percentage of your sales currently, let's say this month, are coming from your referral or your COIs?
I would say at least 30% for sure.
Yeah. That's kind of our agency, is like 30, 35.
Some people have gravitated towards it really strongly. Some people are still a little hesitant on it. We do schedule them to go out in the community and start building the relationships. I knew Marcus would be fantastic for BNI. He just has the personality, and he's just out there. So
You need to start taking him to conferences with you.
we've
We
already talked about it.
Talked about that.
We talked about it because I could be a good wingman for him. And so we've talked about for his self-development.
They're gonna look at you like, oh, Michael Moore, is he your employee?
I'm like this. Yes, I am. So, but for his self-development, I think a conference or two would be fantastic. And there's a couple of agents in my agency that I've offered it to. As we sit down every 2 weeks, we sit down development for himself, and I think that was an added step that for me was fantastic to do. For him, I think it would be something to continue to elevate his brand and his image.
100%. I think after a while, honestly, dialing out for me was getting like,
it'll burn you out.
Okay, dude, like it's working, things are good, right? But like I need more
Diversity.
Like I think that social bug in me is like it needs to eat, right? So so literally, like it's been good to get out and talk to people, and and that as well. And I've never been to a conference, so it's something that I definitely want to do. And I remember when we first spoke, I know we were talking about the financials of everything, right? And I was like, okay, insurance, how do I get residuals? You're like, you got to own an agency. Right. And you're like, yeah. And
you got to get your name on that door.
Exactly. And I'm like,
we'll give you
I want to own an agency.
Back end is mine.
Done deal, right? So that was, after we've had that conversation, the first conversation me and Mike had was like, hey, I want to get my own agency, and this is the situation, right? Yeah. So that's kind of like, I think over time, I've been slowly but surely putting myself in position to like understand the ins and outs. So that way I can create 5 of myself eventually, right? Or more, right? And learning the leadership skills from Mike, because he's a great leader. And I've never experienced any type of leadership like that. So it's been like inspiring me and calming me down. Because like I said before, I'm a little bit sporadic sometimes, right? Just like go for it, right? Without anything else. But Mike's like,
hold on, man. We'll figure this out.
That silent space that was just created, that's literally Mike's energy. So it's been great, right? For me to add that on. And over time, I'm just kind of building that. Now I'm in the phase of, again, building more COIs, getting more out there for myself, talking to people more, understanding what other businesses can do for this business, right? And eventually, I think the overall goal is I want to get 70% of my business to be from COIs.
That'll be a fantastic return.
Yeah, and you kind of have to nowadays with the TCPA restrictions, and the game is just going to be changing. So, it's never been more important. But being an agency owner is, for those that are watching too, one of my top producers. He was one of my top producers for like 2 years, and he became an agency owner. And I was checking on him the other day, and I'm like, hey, how are you? How's everything? And granted, it is a tough time. It is a very tough time for hiring, for finding people, attracting quality talent.
For sure.
If you're looking for resumes on Indeed, it's just a hard time for hiring, and it's a hard time for the state of Nevada. So it is a tough time. And when I checked on him, he's like, bro, I'm struggling. Like being an agency owner is way harder than being a top producer. And, sometimes, not to like toot our horn or anything, but sometimes we make it look easy, but it's not that freaking easy.
True.
Yeah, there's a lot of steps people don't see because you see a different face in the front. But I still will say this is a fantastic opportunity.
best
A fantastic opportunity. It's not built for everybody. So once you've identified someone that can step into those roles, help them, develop
Right.
them, provide them the information.
But the difference is we have access to people that are doing it
For sure.
that are willing to share. I'm going to compare this to one of my good friends who's he's entered the car business, right? He doesn't have somebody that he can just pick up the phone and say, how do I do this? He's figuring it out himself because the people that have done it, they don't want to share it with him.
Yeah.
The car business is a little bit more ruthless than the insurance industry, where we can call the agent that's killing it on the east side or the East Coast and
Go visit them.
and visit them.
Yep, I did
and
that.
they can just pour into us. The car business is kind of like more, cutthroat.
Figure it out,
like-
and you're on an island.
Right.
Like, they don't mess with you. But
So when he's asking me for advice, I'm like, bro, there's nobody. Like who can you get advice from?
Yeah.
He's just like, I mean, it's just not the same. And I'm
Yeah.
like, damn. So more power to him because he's out there trying to figure it out. Whereas we have this luxury of a resource where it's like, hey, Mike, even if it's just venting, like, hey, bro, where you at for the month? Because I'm about to go jump off the stratosphere. Like,
I remember
the
those.
one-way Uber ride to the stratosphere. And, I probably shouldn't joke about that anymore. I got kids.
Oh, yes, you do, sir. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Fantastic.
you, gentlemen. So I guess we could wrap it up there, but I like to ask this final question. The definition of A1 is of the highest qualities, and I like to ask every guest, 3 qualities or standards that you live your life by. So, Marcus, let's start with you.
God, number 1, relationship, inspiration.
Family all day long. And let me see. People. I keep my circle real close. I don't expand it, so people is always important. And then golf.
Golf.
There it is.
I love it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. Well,
One thing I'd like to say, both of you guys have had an integral or a very important part in my career as an LSP, as a producer, and I would like to thank you guys. Honestly, helped me change my life, and it's been like one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Nice.
So thank you.
yeah, I think you're just getting started, man.
Look, it's your trajectory. I told you. You just gotta start laying those bricks in the foundation,
Absolutely.
bro.
Yeah, I think you're very coachable. I think you have a great energy, and as long as you're taking in these processes, you're kind of like, watch Mike's feet, right? Don't watch what he's saying. Watch his feet and how he's moving and
How he's building.
and he's willing to literally give you peel back the curtain and show you everything. Same with me. That's probably one of the bigger things is the people that are struggling. They're not asking for help.
Nope.
They're not reaching out to people, and just being kind of like a forever student of the game. And so, yeah, man, I think it's just the beginning for you. And I will look back on this video years from now. There's plenty of people that are aspiring agency owners that are my audience. And I think they'll look back and I think if you're an agency owner, at the time of by the time somebody's watching this video, I think it'd be really, really cool. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Can't wait to see it, bro.
Likewise.
All right.
yeah, man. So if you guys got some value, like, subscribe, comment, that whole 9. How can people find you guys if you want them to connect with you?
You can hit me up on my Facebook. I don't know what the Facebook is, but or
A lot of Michael Moore.
yeah, so I can't tell it. But sheesh, find me on Instagram. I'm on there, but I don't have a big social. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm very
Stays out the way.
I do. So
Marcus, you're a little bit more social.
A little bit more social at Marcus Miles.
Yep.
At Marcus Miles. Okay.
That M.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Ciao.